A lot of retirees have an underestimation of their spending capacity. Despite being financially prepared, approximately 25% of retirees reduce their spending. We want to change that paradigm from, I might run out of money, to spending this money as a reward for my years of hard work and sacrifice. If you're stressed about your spending and you're thinking that you might be overspending, another thing we can do is... Hello and welcome to another episode of Your Retirement Planning Simplified. I'm your host, Joe Curry, and not with me today is Lindsay Wilson. So anyway, as Lindsay and I have mentioned on the show multiple times, we've just seen almost all of our clients here this fall season, which has been great. And as always, when I'm going through those meetings with clients, there's certain themes that come up quite a bit. And so today I just wanted to talk about a theme that really comes up in most of our kind of regular review periods, is the idea around not spending as much money as our clients could be spending, right? So a lot of our clients, we meet with them, we see how cash flow is. Yeah, cash flow is going well. We check in a little deeper around what they're doing, and then show them how much they could be spending. And quite often they could be spending more than what they're actually spending. And that's something that I just came across an article on as well. So I thought maybe I would share some of the key points out of this article and then just give you some of my thoughts on that. All right. So the article is The Psychology of Retirement Income, From Saving to Spending, published by the Associate Press, and the author Samantha Lamas, a senior behavioral researcher at Morningstar. So the article was touching on the subject of underspending, and the piece explores the psychological challenges retirees face when transitioning from accumulating savings to drawing down those funds. So some of the key points are this reluctance to spend savings. So despite being financially prepared, approximately 25% of retirees reduce their spending, especially those relying on personal savings rather than guaranteed income sources like annuities and pensions. And that's probably because annuities and pensions, we see that money coming in like our paychecks on a regular basis, and we're not worried about it running out, right? So psychological barriers, so factors such as loss aversion and the fear of depleting assets contribute to retirees' hesitation in spending their savings. So, and just in my experience, it really is a paradigm shift for you to go from saving to spending. And for some people, the retirement savings represents a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice, right? So it is very normal that your retirement savings has an emotional representation to you. There's an emotional connection to that retirement nest egg, right? So also, a lot of retirees have an underestimation of their spending capacity, right? So retirees often underestimate their ability to spend. So not accounting for reduced work-related expenses and other lifestyle changes. So what they're saying here is, let's just say, for example, now that you're retired, or when you retire, you're going to have lower commuting costs. You're going to eat more lunches at home instead of eating lunch out. The mortgage is gone. So your total expenses may be down, but through good planning, if you actually are able to maintain the same spending in retirement, but those expenses are down, you may be apprehensive to still spend the same amount of money because you feel like you're spending frivolously. You're kind of throwing money away because you're spending money in different areas, right? Because your expenses are actually down now that you're not working and you paid off the mortgage and things like that. So sometimes that can, again, have that psychological pressure to hold back on spending. They also talk about some strategies to manage spending. So the article suggests assessing financial affairs, tracking expenses, aligning spending with financial goals, and utilizing guaranteed income sources to feel more comfortable with spending and savings. So I'm just going to dive a little bit deeper into this and add some additional perspectives. So understanding loss aversion, what that is. So loss aversion is the tendency to avoid losses over acquiring gains, right? So that might sound familiar to you. In retirement, this could be particularly true that retirees worry about running out of money now that they do not have any earned income to make up for overspending. So when you're working, you know that you have that paycheck coming in, right? Especially if you have a fairly secure job. And so sometimes you might think, oh, I'm going to pay for that trip. I'm going to put it on the credit card, or I'm going to, buy this nice thing, whatever it is. And I just know I can go work some overtime, or I can get a couple more sales, or, whatever the scenario is, but you have that kind of cushion safety net that you know the money's going to keep coming in. And in retirement, you don't necessarily have that. So also, probably the most important thing is financial education and planning. So this is crucial for you to fully understand what your spending capacity is, right? So people are more likely to spend income from their pensions and annuities because it feels secure. Spending money from your investment portfolio is a lot more difficult because it feels like a finite resource, right? You can see it going down. So we want to change that paradigm from I might run out of money to spending this money as a reward for my years of hard work and sacrifice. Okay. So we need to make that shift. And so financial planners can give you the confidence to understand what you can truly spend and sustainably spend. Right. So one of our favorite tools for helping our clients spend is the retirement income guardrails worksheet that we work with. And the reason our clients really like it is it's a very simple tool to help you understand how much you can spend without running out of money. And it also includes it right on it, a plan for how do you know you can spend some more money, and how do you know when you need to tighten your belt a bit because things are getting tough, markets aren't good, or you've been overspending a bit, and how do you know what happens if you're going to take a lump sum out of your nest egg, right? So that having that knowledge makes it a lot easier for our clients to spend, as well as what we've found through experience. So it's important to have a spending plan too. So part of your retirement planning should be getting clarity around how much money you actually need to live your best retirement. And this work should be done before you retire, ideally. So once you've done that, then you can start to stress test your retirement plan. We've talked about the dress rehearsal in the past, right? So you can go back to other episodes to learn about the dress rehearsal if you haven't heard me talk about it. But basically, it's figuring out how much you're actually going to spend in retirement. So you figure out what you think you're going to spend, you do the dress rehearsal, and then you figure out if you actually could live within those means, if that was a good number. So if it's a good number, now you can stress test your plan. And if everything looks good from the plan, once you get to retirement, you know you're okay to do that spending that you planned on and you practice in your dress rehearsal. So having that clarity on your financial situation is going to give you the confidence to spend more money. Now, utilizing annuities and pensions, as the article mentioned, could help you spend more money. So they mentioned in the article that when they actually look at the numbers, the people who have annuities or pensions, they do typically spend more money. And so this is where understanding your retirement income style comes into play. And remember, we did a whole series on retirement income styles, the RISA. So if your natural style is income protection, but you set yourself up with a total return portfolio where you're fully relying on investment returns to create your paychecks for the rest of your life, then you have a disconnect, okay? And you're likely going to be scared to spend money, and you're going to feel uncomfortable spending money because you're just not comfortable with your plan. It's not the right plan for you. So make sure you understand your income style. You can work with a planner to properly implement that retirement income plan that aligns with your retirement income style. And if you haven't already, make sure you go to the website, retirementplanningsimplified.ca/blog. And you can find, if you find the show notes for this episode or any of the retirement income style analysis series, you will find a link to do your own RISA assessment so you can understand what your income style is. Or you can always just email us, info@retirementplanningsimplified.ca, and just ask for the RISA and we'll send you a link. And the last piece here, some behavioral tips for retirement spending, because a lot of this psychologically is really just comes down to managing your money in a way that can help you behave the way you want to behave, right? So here's some tips. Set up automatic withdrawals from your portfolio to mimic a paycheck. So don't just take a lump sum every year, because again, for some people, that means you're going to spend it too quick because you see all the money there. For other people, you're going to be scared to spend because you don't want to see that money come down at all, right? It gives you stress to see your bank account getting lower. So you can start by having what we call a sleep at night number, right? So we've talked about, probably have an emergency fund. You've heard that, right? So for some people, it's not so much having 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank account. It's about having a certain number that just gives you the confidence to sleep at night. And, we have clients, and you might be like this, where when you see your bank account drop under a certain number, you start to get stressed, right? So we want to just get a savings account set up that has that amount of money in it so that you can sleep at night. You can get your hands on it if you need it, right? Now, again, if you're stressed about your spending and you're thinking that you might be overspending, Another thing we can do is we can set up a couple accounts. So one for more the necessities, right? So everything you need to spend money on, and you can make sure between your government pensions, between your portfolio withdrawals, between your annuities if you have one, or your pension, whatever it is, make sure enough money is going into this needs or necessities account so that all the stuff you have to take care of is taken care of, right? So maybe some things are going to come up later in the month and you're worried that you're not going to have enough money there. So you just don't spend any. So if you put all this in a separate account and you know everything's accounted for, then you can have a separate account for more discretionary spending so that you know that you can freely spend whatever's in that account. So whether it's on trips, whether it's on dinners out, whether it's going to the Leafs game, if you're a Leafs fan like me, you know that you can spend that without having to worry because you've already taken care of all those necessities. Okay. So those are just a few tips from the behavior side. Now, as I mentioned, many of the retirees we work with are not spending as much as they could be. And for them, it's not so much that they're missing out on opportunities because they've done the planning, they do understand what they can spend. The reality just is that they have more money than they need to spend because they've always been good spenders and they've never been big spenders, right? So it's not that you should feel like you have to spend everything you have. But the real trend that's concerning here is when people are missing out on doing the things that they love with the people that they love because they're scared of overspending, right? So don't let that happen to you. Make sure you have some clarity in your situation, a plan in place, and someone to guide you through retirement so that you are living your best life. All right. Happy planning.